On Thursday, this is the dem for that. So you need to bring a springform tin. The tin that you used for cheesecake, you should be writing this down, because the fact is people go, but I've come and I didn't bring a tin, I forgot. Okay, let's not go that way. All right, so springform tin, something to bring your Chelsea buns home with. Okay, really important. And what we'll do is we'll line it and spray it. Okay, next thing. On your Chelsea bun recipe, you're going to use 2 cups of self-raising flour, but can you add to that 2 cups that's sitting up the top there, plus half a cup, because you're going to need some for sprinkling on your board, okay? So you've got 2 cups plus another half a cup, and into this, you're going to be putting some butter. It says 1 tablespoon of butter. Now, when you do 1 tablespoon of butter, can you just get if you've just got this out of the fridge, can you just grab a spoon like this and get a tablespoon? What do you think, how much is a tablespoon? We've gone through this before. In theory, I taught you and I said you need to learn all of these measurements, and I gave you reasons why, and this is one of them. How do we know how much, on a block of butter, how much is a tablespoon? Oh, you guys have got such good memories. It's 20 grams. Now, how can I grab 20 grams off this? Good girl, exactly. So, on the side of every block of butter, there is measurements, and it's usually in 50-gram blocks. So, what happens is you then grab about half. Okay, about half of 50 grams is 25, and I've just made my black shirt white. Okay, and what you're going to do with this is I've just chopped that up, and you're going to rub this butter in. And what that means is rubbing between your fingertips, you're going to grab that butter and just squish it in between the flour, and make sure you incorporate all the flour, and you're going to bring it up, making sure that the palms of your hands stay clean, because you don't want to make your butter all gooey, okay? So you're going to rub that in just between your fingertips, okay? And bring that all the way up so that it becomes nice and light and fluffy and airy, okay? So grab each of those chunks of butter. If you want to know if there's still butter in there, shake your bowl. Those blobs of butter will come to the top, okay? Make sure you get all of that flour through it and just rub that in like that, okay? So, and what it has to do at the end of it, it needs to resemble breadcrumbs, okay? So, bring that up, make sure you've got it all, just give it another shake, see if there's any big lumps there, okay? And that's about it. Okay, that's called rubbing in. And you're going to rub that in there, and then what you're going to do is you're going to put 2 tablespoons of sugar into that, okay? So there's my 2 tablespoons. Once again, just squish any lumps of sugar that might be in there and give that a mix like that. And I'll just give it a shake, see if there are any lumps, okay? And then you're going to put a cup of milk into that, okay? Approximately. So that's about a cup of milk. And give that a stir, and I'm using a knife because what's happened is, as I've lifted that up, that's become all nice and aerated, okay? I don't want to lose that nice light fluffiness of my flour. So I stir that with a knife to keep that nice and aerated. Like that. Now once that starts to combine together, then I'm going to grab a spatula, and this is where that extra half a cup of flour comes into it. Okay, that extra half a cup of flour you're going to use to flour your bench. Okay, grab your spatula now and scrape out your dough, okay, onto the bench like that. And then we're going to ever so lightly use our fingers to manoeuvre that so that it's no longer sticky, okay? We're not going to put all our hands in there because you'll end up with all this gooey hand flour and dough on your hands, but just use your fingertips until it starts to get nice and like a dough, okay? Squish that like that. Then once it's just combined, we're not going to knead it like bread. Has anybody made bread before? Where you're really pushing it and you're knocking it back? We're not going to do that. We want it to stay nice and light, okay? So once it's like that, then we get a rolling pin. Okay, and make sure your flour is all over your board where you're going to be rolling it out, okay? Otherwise it's going to stick and that will be problematic in a moment, okay? So roll that out like that. If it starts sticking, grab some of your extra flour, okay? Put that on your rolling pin like that. And we want it to resemble like a rectangle, okay? So we're going to roll it gently like that. You shouldn't have to press too hard because it should be very easy to roll. If it keeps sticking, just grab a little bit more flour. You can also get a little bit more and just sprinkle it on top of your dough. And then when it's like that, that should be fine. If you notice the rolling pin, pretty much just the weight of the rolling pin is rolling it out for me. There we go. Then what's going to happen is on your recipe just now, where it says for filling 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of sugar, can you change that to 4 of each? 4 tablespoons of butter and 4 tablespoons of sugar. And once you've done that, you've got 4 tablespoons and 4 tablespoons. Then what you're going to do is you're going to put that into a Pyrex jug, and we're going to mix that together. And this is going to, in a moment, almost look like peanut butter. But really, what brown sugar and butter does is sort of make like a cheap version of caramel, okay? So we're going to stir that together like that. Now, can I please emphasise that brown sugar and raw sugar are 2 different things, okay? Brown sugar looks like this, okay? You can have dark brown sugar and light brown sugar, and I don't mind which one you bring, but raw sugar, which is what people put in their tea and coffee and think that it's better for you than white sugar, when really at the end of the day it's all sugar and it's no different, okay? Don't come to school with raw sugar because it's not going to work. Brown sugar is what makes things like caramelise and so on, okay? So just make sure if you're buying brown sugar, not raw sugar. And if your parents think that raw sugar is healthier for you than brown sugar, well, that's really not true, okay? Sugar is sugar regardless of whatever it is. Okay, so this is what your brown sugar and butter looks like now. See how it looks like peanut butter? What you're going to do is you're going to get it onto your dough and you're going to spread it out. And you'll need to be really gentle because your dough underneath is very soft, okay? So just what you're going to do is spread it out. I'm just using the back of a spoon here. You can also use your spatula if you wish. That might be a little bit easier to just spread it out. I don't really mind. So, and just make sure you go right to the very edges because you don't want some of your Chelsea bun tasting really good and then the rest not having any flavour, okay? So make sure you go right to the edge. And the reason why I got it to change 4 tablespoons of sugar and 4 of butter is because I just found that it didn't spread to the edges with only 2, okay? Oopsie. So use that right to the very edge. Okay, so we're nearly there. Now, if you do like nuts and seeds and sultanas and dried fruit and things like that, that you'd be putting that on here. And that's your old traditional, the original recipe for Chelsea buns had that, okay? But because I know that young people are not that keen on nuts and seeds and sultanas and all that sort of stuff. I've converted it to chocolate chips, okay? So I'm going to put chocolate chips on this one because you guys are probably going to be eating it. So you can do chocolate chips on this if you wish. If you want to do the original, feel free. If you want to go and put like some pineapples and some cinnamon, you can do that as well. Okay, but I'm just going to put chocolate chips on this one. Now they must be chocolate chips, not choc melts. Okay, choc melts will make it all go gooey and gross, but make sure you're using real choc chips because choc chips are designed not to melt in the oven. Okay, and they hold their shape. But you don't. But yeah, don't put choc melts on here. Okay. Now, would you like some white chocolate as well on this, everybody? Yes. Okay. Oh, was that a silly question? Yeah. All right. Okay. Okay. You want a bit of fun with your chocolate chips? Yeah. Now, this is where you learn whether you have greased your board or floured your board enough, because now what you're going to do is you're going to roll it. Okay, so what I do is I actually get a knife and I'm going to just roll that up like this. If you haven't greased your board properly, it will start to stick. Okay, now you've got your roll like this. This is where now you have your tin, okay, and you're going to start slicing it. Now make sure that you slice it evenly. If some of the pieces are that fat and the others are that skinny, they're going to burn and the others are going to be gooey and raw, okay? So you cut them up around about the same width and just sit them side by side with the swirl facing upwards. Okay, so what happens as they cook, they expand and they become round. Okay, so that's how we're going to use it. Okay, so we're going to put them in side by side, just sit them beside each other like that. Okay, and then they go in the oven.